Have you ever wondered why the way you connect with others changes as you journey through life? Have you noticed a shift from vibrant social gatherings in your youth to moments of peaceful solitude in your later years? In this video, we delve deep into the delicate balance between sociability and solitude, exploring how these two sides of life not only coexist but also complement each other throughout different stages of our lives. You'll discover why embracing solitude doesn't mean losing the warmth of connection, but rather finding a fulfilling harmony that enriches your relationships and personal well-being. Stay with us until the end to uncover insightful stories like that of Mr. Lee and Uncle Ma, who illustrate the natural evolution of our social interactions. Learn how to set healthy boundaries, cherish meaningful connections, and create a life of balance and fulfillment. Whether you're navigating your transition or supporting someone you care about, this video offers valuable perspectives and practical tips to help you embrace life's transitions with grace and authenticity. Join us on this journey to understand the beauty of living authentically, one peaceful moment at a time. Your path to a more balanced and meaningful life starts here. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. As we move through life, we inevitably experience a shift in perspective that grows more pronounced with age. This transformation is not just about how we see the world around us, but also about how we view the people in it. In our younger years, we often approach relationships with an open heart, believing that sincerity is something abundant and easy to find. We are quick to trust, to believe in the goodness of others, and to assume that the connections we form will be lasting. Our world is filled with the promise of friendship and love, and we believe that these bonds are pure, steadfast, and unbreakable. But as time goes on, life's experiences begin to paint a different picture. We are often confronted with the reality that sincerity is not as plentiful as we once thought, and we learn that not all relationships are as genuine as they may have seemed at first. People disappoint us, betray our trust, and sometimes walk away when we least expect it. These experiences, while painful, become the catalysts for change. We become more cautious, more discerning about the people we let into our lives, and more careful with our hearts. The famous saying, "Those who approach red become red, those who approach ink become black," is something I often reflect on when thinking about how we evolve in our relationships. It's a reminder that the people we surround ourselves with have a profound influence on who we become. Our environment, the people we choose to engage with, and the experiences we endure shape our values, our outlook on life, and our sense of trust. It's as though we begin to pick up the colors of those we interact with, and over time, we learn to recognize the importance of choosing wisely. With age comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes a more refined sense of what truly matters in relationships. We start to realize that trust is not something to be given freely to everyone. It is something that must be earned, something that is cultivated over time through shared experiences, mutual respect, and, above all, sincerity. As our understanding of trust deepens, so does our need for solitude. I've noticed this shift in myself and many others as we get older. What once felt like an obligation, the constant socializing, the never-ending flow of invitations, the pressure to maintain numerous friendships, becomes less important. Instead of seeking out crowded gatherings or bustling social events, we begin to crave quiet, reflective moments. We find solace in simple activities that bring us peace. Sipping a warm cup of tea on a quiet afternoon, tending to a garden that flourishes with patience and care, or spending unhurried time with close family members. This isn't a sign of bitterness or anger, as some might think, but rather a natural shift in priorities. We no longer feel the need to fill every moment with noise or activity. Instead, we come to appreciate the calm and the stillness, finding beauty in the quiet rhythms of daily life. The changes in our social lives aren't a rejection of others, but rather a quiet acceptance of who we are at this stage of life. I've observed this shift in so many people, each in their way. Take, for instance, Mr. Lee, a man now in his 50s who has experienced this transformation firsthand. In his younger years, Mr. Lee was the epitome of warmth and hospitality. His home was always open to friends and family, and he would often host lively gatherings filled with laughter and conversation. But as the years passed, his perspective began to change. The busy social calendar that once brought him joy no longer seemed to have the same appeal. Now, Mr. Lee prefers to meet his friends in neutral spaces, like quiet restaurants or coffee shops, rather than invite them into his home. When asked why, he explains that the stages of life bring different needs. In his current stage, he values personal time and introspection far more than social obligations. He no longer feels the need to entertain or constantly surround himself with others. Instead, he cherishes the peace that comes with solitude, the clarity that can only be found in moments of quiet reflection. This shift is something I believe is common among many as they grow older. There's a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from finding contentment in one's own company, in the simple pleasures of life. It's not about rejecting the relationships we've built over the years, but about acknowledging that there is a deeper, more introspective form of fulfillment that we've come to appreciate. As we age, our values shift, and what once seemed so essential, the constant need for social approval, the fear of being alone, the pressure to maintain a wide circle of friends, loses its hold over us. Instead, we learn to treasure the few, meaningful connections we have, the quiet moments of self-reflection, and the joy of finding peace in solitude. Ultimately, embracing solitude in later years is not a sign of isolation or loneliness, but rather a sign of growth and self-acceptance. It's about realizing that life doesn't have to be filled with constant noise and external validation to be fulfilling. Sometimes, the greatest joy comes from simply being at peace with oneself, finding contentment in the simplest of moments, and knowing that we are enough just as we are. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. A preference for simplicity and solitude offers a kind of freedom that is truly profound, one that is often overlooked in the rush of everyday life. It is a freedom that goes beyond the absence of noise or activity. It is the freedom to fully immerse ourselves in the quiet corners of our minds, to breathe deeply without the constant hum of distractions. In these precious moments of stillness, we find time to reflect on who we are, what we've experienced, and where we want to go next. Solitude becomes a space where we can recharge, restore our energy, and regain our inner balance. It allows us to slow down, to savor the small, unnoticed details of life that often get drowned out by the cacophony of external demands. Whether it's taking a walk alone in nature, enjoying the simplicity of a warm cup of tea, or losing ourselves in a book, there is an unmatched peace that comes from engaging in activities that bring us joy without the pressures of social obligations. This shift towards solitude does not, however, mean we abandon the joy of human connection or that we lose our capacity for deep, meaningful relationships. Far from it. It simply marks a transition, a natural evolution in how we choose to prioritize our time and energy. As we grow, we begin to recognize that not all relationships are equal and that the most important ones are often the ones that endure through time, not because of constant contact, but because of the quality of the connection. In this process, we learn to invest more intentionally in the relationships that truly matter, nurturing them in ways that align with our own evolving lifestyle. These are the relationships that stand the test of time, whether it's an old friend with whom we've shared years of laughter and tears, a family member who understands us at our deepest level, or a partner who supports us through every season of life. There is a certain beauty in this shift. It's not about abandoning people or withdrawing from the world. It's about discerning which connections are worth nurturing, and which ones might be draining our energy without adding value. The transition toward simplicity and solitude allows us to focus on the quality of our interactions rather than the quantity. It teaches us that we don't need to be constantly surrounded by others to feel loved or fulfilled. Sometimes the most meaningful moments are the quiet, unspoken ones, when we can sit in the presence of someone we care about without the need for words, just enjoying the comfort of shared space. For me, There is something incredibly freeing about this balance between solitude and connection. Solitude offers a sanctuary, a place to heal and rediscover parts of ourselves that may have been overshadowed by the busyness of life. Yet, it is in our connections with others that we experience the richness of human existence. There is a warmth in the embrace of a loved one, a joy in sharing a meal with friends, and a sense of belonging that comes from deep, meaningful conversations. But those moments are most treasured when we have given ourselves the space to be alone, to reflect, and to be whole on our terms. In solitude, we cultivate the emotional and mental clarity that allows us to be present and fully engaged when we are with others. This balance between solitude and connection is not always easy to find, especially in a world that often glorifies constant social engagement. The pressure to be everywhere, to attend every gathering, and to maintain a multitude of relationships can be overwhelming. Yet, over time, I have come to realize that it is not the quantity of our relationships that defines us, but their depth. The best relationships are those that are nurtured with intention, respect, and authenticity. Whether it's reconnecting with an old friend after years of being apart or simply spending a quiet afternoon with a loved one, these moments are precious because they remind us of what truly matters. They remind us that life is not just about being busy or socializing constantly, but about cherishing the moments that bring us joy and fulfillment, no matter how big or small. So, as you journey through life, I encourage you to reflect on how your relationships have evolved over the years. Have you experienced this shift from sociability to solitude? How has your perspective on friendships, family, and connections changed? Perhaps you found yourself seeking more quiet time, or maybe you've discovered a deeper appreciation for the relationships that have stood the test of time. Whatever your experience, know that it is okay to embrace this transition with open arms. Life teaches us that it is not the number of friends we have or the frequency of our social interactions that brings meaning to our lives, but the depth of our connections and the space we create for ourselves to be fully present, both in solitude and in the company of those we care about. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on this journey with me. Life is full of transitions, and it is in these moments of change that we often find our truest selves. Here's to embracing those transitions with grace, authenticity, and the courage to prioritize what truly brings us peace and fulfillment. What are your thoughts? Have you noticed a shift in how you approach relationships and solitude over the years? I'd love to hear your story. Embracing solitude and cultivating mindful connections in the later stages of life is a deeply enriching journey, one that unfolds slowly, often in ways we least expect. As we grow older and move through the chapters of our lives, the way we perceive relationships and social interactions naturally evolves. In our younger years, we may have been more inclined toward constant socializing, the excitement of bustling gatherings, and the energy of constant engagement with others. But as time passes and life settles into a rhythm of its own, many find themselves yearning for something different. Something quieter, more peaceful, and more introspective. There is a certain grace in embracing solitude, in learning that true contentment does not always require constant interaction with the outside world. Instead, as we age, the simplicity of life becomes more appealing, and our understanding of connection shifts. It's no longer about quantity, but about quality. Mindful connections that nourish the soul without overwhelming it. And often, when sociability meets the reality of our personal needs and desires, we find that less truly is more. Today, I invite you to reflect on this delicate balance between human connection and solitude, and to consider why so many people in their later years find such profound peace in embracing simplicity when the world becomes too noisy. Take, for instance, the story of Uncle Ma, a man whose life seemed to be a beautiful mosaic of experiences, each piece adding a new dimension to his understanding of the world. When he reconnected with an old classmate from his school days, it was like rediscovering a lost treasure. They were both living in the same neighborhood now, and the joy of reminiscing and sharing stories of their respective journeys through life brought them immense happiness. The excitement of those early visits was palpable, and for Uncle Ma, it felt like a breath of fresh air, a delightful reunion of kindred spirits. His classmate, eager to rekindle their bond, invited him over for food and drinks, and the invitation felt warm, sincere, and full of promise. Uncle Ma, who had spent many quiet evenings alone, felt the stirrings of joy and companionship again. He began visiting his friend regularly, savoring the time spent reminiscing about old times, laughing over shared memories, and basking in the familiarity of a friendship long ago cherished. The visits brought him the sense of connection he had been longing for, and for a while, it seemed like everything was just as it had been in the past. But over time, something began to change. After several visits, Uncle Ma's friend shared an unexpected truth that caught him off guard. These frequent gatherings were starting to disrupt his family life. What had initially seemed like a casual invitation to reconnect now felt like an unspoken obligation. His classmate gently admitted that, while he enjoyed their time together, the constant visits were taking a toll on his personal space and his family's routine. The warmth that had once enveloped their time together began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of awkwardness and discomfort. Uncle Ma, who had initially felt so welcomed and valued, began to realize that what had been a kind gesture from his friend was not, in fact, an open invitation for regular visits. It had been a polite, yet brief invitation, a way to reconnect over a shared past, not necessarily to establish a new routine of frequent gatherings. This realization stung, and Uncle Ma's heart grew heavy as he understood that, even with the best of intentions, too much socializing can sometimes strain relationships, especially when it disrupts the delicate balance of everyday life. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This lesson in boundaries was not lost on him. He understood that connection, while essential, must be handled with care. The dynamic between him and his friend had shifted in ways that neither of them had anticipated, and this shift revealed an important truth: that even the most well-meaning gestures can have unintended consequences when not tempered with sensitivity to the other person's life and needs. This was a profound turning point for Uncle Ma, a moment of clarity in his understanding of what it means to truly connect with others. Sometimes, less is more. Sometimes, the most meaningful connections are those that are shared sparingly but with great intention. Similarly, the story of Miss Wang, a kind and gentle woman who lived just upstairs, offers another poignant lesson about the complexities of socializing in our later years. Miss Wang, like many of us, had a deep desire to stay connected with her community. She enjoyed attending neighborly gatherings, catching up with friends, and engaging in small talk. One evening, during a casual conversation at a neighbor's home, Miss Wang mentioned her daughter-in-law in passing. It was a harmless remark, made with no ill intent, but little did she know that her words would be misinterpreted. Her casual mention was taken the wrong way, and it quickly escalated into a misunderstanding that strained her relationship with her family. The tension that followed lingered, casting a shadow over what had once been a warm and loving dynamic. What began as a friendly exchange, a mere attempt to maintain social bonds, had now turned into an unnecessary conflict that could have easily been avoided. This situation made Miss Wang realize how delicate the art of socializing truly is, especially in later years when emotions can run deeper and old wounds can resurface more easily. The frequent visits, once a source of joy, had now become a double-edged sword, offering connection, but also causing friction. The lesson she learned was one of boundaries, communication, and the importance of being mindful of the context and the people with whom we engage. Sometimes, the best way to preserve relationships is to recognize when to step back and allow space for reflection, rather than filling every moment with interaction. Both of these stories reveal something essential about the challenges of frequent socializing, especially as we age. There is beauty in maintaining connections, but there is also wisdom in understanding when those connections need to be more intentional and less frequent. It's in these quiet moments of reflection, in the spaces between interactions, that we often find the deepest peace. The world may be noisy, but the heart longs for stillness. In our later years, we may come to realize that true happiness doesn't lie in the number of friends we have or the frequency of our social engagements. It lies in the quality of our interactions and in the quiet contentment we find in solitude. The greatest connections are often those that require no words at all but are simply felt in the stillness of being. And in that stillness, we find the most profound peace. This is why, for so many in their later years, the delicate dance between solitude and connection becomes so crucial. It is a reminder that as we grow older, the need for meaningful, mindful interactions outweighs the desire for constant socializing. There is wisdom in quiet moments, in savoring the simplicity of life, and in embracing the peace that comes from truly understanding what it means to be connected, to both others and to oneself. Unintended disturbances are a subtle yet frequent part of human interactions, often arising when a gesture, which one person intends to be warm and thoughtful, may be perceived as an intrusion or even an offense by someone else. This disconnect is especially palpable within families, where deep-seated dynamics and established routines are fragile and easily disrupted. What might seem like a caring attempt to be closer, such as a visit or an offer of help, can unintentionally disturb the delicate balance that people rely on in their day-to-day lives. In these moments, even the most innocent actions, like bringing a small gift or offering unsolicited advice, can create ripples of discomfort and tension. The emotions of both the giver and the recipient become entangled, leaving the former confused and the latter feeling vulnerable or invaded. This imbalance can be emotionally draining, especially if it leads to unresolved feelings. The danger lies in how quickly these small, unintended disturbances can spiral into something much more damaging. Misunderstandings, fueled by assumptions, can easily ignite the fire of gossip and strained relationships. A remark made in passing, meant to be light-hearted or well-intentioned, can be misinterpreted, exaggerated, or twisted, leading to miscommunication. These kinds of misunderstandings, though seemingly trivial, can create unnecessary drama, leaving both parties feeling hurt, defensive, or misunderstood. What was once a harmonious relationship may quickly turn sour, all because of something that was said without malicious intent but was perceived as hurtful or dismissive. Similarly, comparisons in financial situations, whether between friends, neighbors, or family members, can create subtle but powerful tensions. It's so easy to fall into the trap of comparing incomes, lifestyle choices, or material possessions, but these comparisons can be deeply damaging. While some may dismiss them as harmless banter, for others, they can plant seeds of inadequacy, self-doubt, or jealousy. These moments, though unspoken, linger in the heart and mind, causing strain that may not be immediately visible but is always felt. In the face of these emotional complexities, many people begin to find solace and peace in solitude, particularly as life becomes busier and more demanding. The simple, quiet moments of being alone can hold profound beauty and meaning. The idea of living simply, focusing on one's own needs and desires rather than constantly trying to meet the expectations of others, becomes not just a coping mechanism, but a source of deep contentment. It's a conscious decision to retreat from the noise of the world and reconnect with oneself. Unfortunately, this concept is often misunderstood by younger generations, who associate solitude with loneliness or social exclusion. It's a misconception that solitude equates to isolation, but as we mature, we begin to understand the true value of being comfortable with our own company. Over time, we realize that solitude isn't a sign of weakness or loneliness. It's an act of strength, a deliberate choice to cultivate peace within ourselves and prioritize mental well-being. Solitude is not about shutting others out, but rather creating the necessary space for reflection, growth, and cultivating meaningful, deep connections with those who truly matter. It's about learning to listen to our thoughts and desires, without the constant chatter of others or the pressure to conform to external expectations. In a world that increasingly demands our attention and energy, the ability to embrace solitude becomes an empowering tool for self-discovery and emotional health. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Sometimes, the hustle and bustle of maintaining a busy social calendar or hosting guests can become overwhelming. It can drain us both physically and emotionally, leaving us exhausted and unfulfilled. In such moments, the idea of spending time with loved ones in more neutral, less demanding environments, like a quiet cafe or a peaceful park, becomes more appealing. These settings allow for meaningful, relaxed interactions without the added pressure of performance or obligation. They offer a chance to reconnect, not out of a sense of duty, but from a place of genuine desire to share time and space. As life continues to speed up, there's been a noticeable shift in how people approach social traditions. Long-standing customs, such as festive home visits or large family gatherings, are being reevaluated. For many, the thought of hosting a big celebration or attending a formal gathering feels increasingly burdensome. The fast-paced nature of modern life, coupled with the stress of work, family, and personal obligations, leaves little room for the kind of relaxed, spontaneous social interactions that once felt effortless. More and more people are opting to stay home, to rest, or to connect with others through technology rather than face-to-face visits. This shift isn't a sign that people no longer value tradition or family. It's a reflection of the changing demands of life and the desire to create more intentional, meaningful moments. The need for genuine, heartfelt interactions has never been greater, but these connections no longer need to be bound by traditional, obligatory norms. We are learning that the best way to show love and care is not through forced visits or lavish gatherings, but through authentic, mindful connections that honor each individual's needs and time. In a world that is increasingly driven by speed, productivity, and external validation, finding peace in solitude and redefining social traditions is an act of resistance. It's a declaration that we can still find joy in simplicity and that we can prioritize our emotional well-being without guilt or shame. In doing so, we allow ourselves to fully appreciate the quieter, more meaningful aspects of life. Those moments when we connect with ourselves and others on a deeper, more authentic level. As we've explored today, navigating the complexities of human relationships requires not only kindness but also understanding and self-awareness. We've touched on how simple gestures, misunderstandings, and subtle tensions can shape our connections with others, and the importance of finding peace in solitude as life becomes busier and more demanding. It's clear that, whether it's our actions or our own need for space, how we manage these elements plays a significant role in maintaining harmony and personal well-being. So, what have you learned so far? Think about a key takeaway from this video. Whether it's about the importance of being mindful in our interactions, the power of solitude, or how to approach family dynamics with more care. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections. Please comment below and share one thing you've learned that you will start practicing in your own life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insightful content. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments.